I'm familiar with Sylvester Stallone. I grew up watching him. The first time I ever saw him in was in Spy Kids Game Over. I've got his Rocky movies. I've got the box set. I've got the 6 DVDs. I've never actually seen Rocky, but I own a copy of it. I've seen him in Copland. No, it's not the greatest Stallone movie, but he does his hardest in it. So I'm familiar with who this actor is. And what I love about Sylvester Stallone is that he can easily be painted as this typical, stereotypical macho male. But instead, in recent years, he's come out and going, look, I'm a dad to daughters. I'm a daughter's dad. Like, what do you expect me to do? Like, I'm not going to be the big bad guy that you want me to be. So watching Sly, this story predominantly focuses on his road from Rocky to now. And it's more heavily featured on the road to Rocky rather than Stallone's personal journey through life up until now. It talks about his dad and his complicated relationship with his family, specifically with his parents, specifically with the jealousy that his dad had towards him, and watching how Sly, had to deal with that, and through that, went into acting. And was like, everybody's knocking me back because I'm not this conventional attractive man. So like, screw you all, I'm going to create Rocky. And again, people are trying to buy him out going, again, you're not the conventional attractive man. We don't want you being in the only thing that you wrote. So he was like, screw you guys, I'm in this. And I think it's a really powerful thing that he broke the mold. And as everybody said who's in this documentary, Stallone gave his all. He gave himself a chance to keep pushing forward. And yeah, unfortunately now he's got some regrets. The regrets that, he spent where he missed aspects of his children growing up because he was so heavily swayed by Hollywood's mindset and going, I have to keep being number one. Now, it does dig a little bit on Schwarzenegger's and Stallone's playful banter between each other, which is great. And I love how they revert back to Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, which is actually a good movie. I have a copy of it. Yes, it's super cheesy, but it's actually not that bad to watch. And I think that he tried his hardest to prove that he wasn't just this macho boxing man. He was a man who could create a love story. He was a man who's willing to try and step out of his box. Again, he mentioned in Copland, he hated that he got tanked so much, but he gave it his all. He hated that when he went toe-to-toe with Robert De Niro in that Copland scene, specifically in the scene in this documentary. De Niro was just like, nah, I don't give a damn. But that's the whole point of these characters. And for me, I haven't always been a Sly Stallone fan. I first saw him in Spy Kids in 2003. I was a little kid. Probably in the midst of COVID, one December, I decided to have a Sylvester Stallone binge and pretty much binged almost every movie I could get my hand on. Not all the movies that are mentioned in this documentary, but most of them. I now own most of his catalog, which is exciting, but also frustrating because, again, it's really hard to find a lot of his movies. But I like how that he just tries. Regardless of what the script is, regardless of whether the movie is actually 100% dog's pile and deserves to die, he still gave it his all. He showed the world that he could just be more than a boxing man. He gave it more than, this man who was willing to, break the mold in what Hollywood wanted. And I think that's absolutely brilliant when it comes to Sly Stallone. For me, I don't have necessarily a favorite role of his because I always think that he adds his own little charisma while being the character. Now, they talk about Expendables, and I didn't realize that he ultimately destroyed his body with Expendables. Now, again, Expendables, I've seen all 4 movies. I am not a fan of that franchise. That's a personal opinion. But hearing him talk about the journey of how he went to this place and was in awe of how these comeback people were still loved, and he wanted to create that, but for movies. See, the only thing that I take away from Expendables franchise is that he's doing it with his friends. He's collaborating with people who he genuinely likes. And that's the only reason I come back to the Expendable movies, is because of those reasons. Regardless of how trash this franchise is, he does it because it's people he knows he can get along with. People who deserve to have a chance at repeating for a new generation. And I think it's just a really interesting thing that, like, when he does his scripts, yeah, he lost a lot and has regrets now, as he admitted. He regrets that he wasn't there for his family as much, but you can see that he puts himself in his storylines. He admits his faults in his storylines. In this, it doesn't necessarily cover every single aspect of his life. It's only an hour 40 long, so it does a lot while also not doing a lot at the same time. But I think it's an incredibly powerful journey to sit through. I laughed. I did get a bit teary. Honestly, if Sylvester Stallone ever came out with a biography from A to Z of his life so far, I would sit down and read it. If he decided to do a biographical movie where someone else is playing him, I would watch it. This guy is an incredible actor, producer, writer, everything. I would love the presence to be, I love the chance to just be in the same presence as him, because he has such a story to tell. And yes, this story was a bit selective on how it told it, but I think he definitely needs to be heard. And I was reading one of the reviews on Letterboxd, and it was saying that this is the closest you would get to Grandpa Stallone sitting you on his knee and telling you his life story. And I think that is a brilliant little piece of thing to read in a review, because it's true. It's very selective, but it's the closest we'll get, and I think it's an important documentary to sit through.